They said Shady Sands would never fall. It was the pride of the new California Republic, a beacon of what civilization could become. They were wrong. I was on patrol when I first heard it, a strange hum cutting through the desert wind. At first I dismissed it, maybe a passing caravan, but something felt off. Then the sky lit up. Crimson lights pierced through a dense, creeping fog. Vertibirds, dozens of them, descending fast. We weren't ready. Shady Sands had defenses, sure, but not for this, not for an airborne force moving with such precision. The first impact shook the ground. Structures crumbled, and the air filled with the sound of alarms and confusion. People rushed into the streets, not knowing where to go, only knowing they had to move. I made my way toward the center of town. The statue of President Tandy, a symbol of our past, was gone in an instant. It was then I realized this wasn't just an attack. This was an erasure. Our communication lines were down. The Rangers were doing what they could, forming defense lines, shouting for backup, calling anyone who could fight. But it wasn't enough. Then came the broadcast. To all who are listening, please evacuate. It's not safe. The voice was panicked, terrified, repeating over every channel. Whoever they were, they believed this was already over. But we weren't ready to give up. A group of survivors, civilians, guards, medics, began gathering near the old vault entrance beneath the school. It was never meant to be reopened. But that day, it became our last hope. We forced the doors open, activating systems that hadn't run in decades. The space inside was cramped, cold, but safe, for now. Outside, others stayed behind to hold the line. They gave us time, knowing they might not make it. I will never forget their faces. Inside the vault, we waited. Hours turned to days, then weeks. We lost contact with the surface. No word from the NCR, no updates, just silence. The vault wasn't designed for long-term living anymore. Supplies were tight, tempers flared. We made do. Then one day the vault door opened again. We feared the worst, but it wasn't an enemy. It was Cassia, one of the Rangers we thought lost, injured, exhausted, but alive. She'd seen the aftermath. Shady Sands was gone. Entire districts flattened, landmarks erased. The capital, no more than dust. They weren't the Enclave, she said. Not Brotherhood either. Something else. No one knows who did it or how it happened. No one knew anything. There was no information, just nothing. But soon, we'd hear it everywhere. Raiders just overtaking towns and sacking them. Communities across the NCR declaring martial law and uneasy alliances being cultivated by power-hungry politicians and ambitious military leaders. These people were not coming to save the day. They were changing the rules to meet their own needs. Their message stayed the same. This is not a war. It is a disaster. We remained underground for 3 more months, rationing, planning, hoping for a sign. But none came. Eventually, we emerged. Quietly, cautiously. What we found was a wasteland changed. Old roads now controlled by different factions, claiming to be the supreme authority over all of the NCR. Different flags being raised across various settlements. And the familiar settlements, they were restructured, renamed, or simply gone. The person or whoever did this to Shady Sands did not just break the heart and soul of the Republic. They redefined what it means to see everything you've built be removed in an instant. They erased the past to build their version of the future. But Shady Sands, it lives on in us. We remember the market's laughter, the shared stories by the fire, the hope that built an entire republic from nothing. We may be scattered now, across the Mojave, the Boneyard, and beyond, But we carry the same purpose: to endure, to remember, and one day, to rebuild what was lost. Welcome to Ashes of Shady Sands, a Fallout epic.
Part 1. Ashes of Shady Sands. Chapter 1. Red Sky at Morning. The sky over Shady Sands turned crimson, not from the sunset, but from the blood of history. At 0600 hours, the fire returned to the west. A nuclear warhead detonated near the Brahmin Pens, and in a blink, the beating heart of the new California Republic ceased to exist. Cole Dustwalker Harlan had seen war. He'd seen NCR forward bases overrun in the Mojave, watched Legion centurions butcher civilians. But nothing compared to this, nothing prepared him for the silence after the scream. Shady Sands didn't fall. It was erased. The roads boiled, the sky choked black. Cole and his squad, pinned in the western residential blocks, dug out the injured by hand. Every second felt stolen. They pulled a wounded ranger captain from a collapsed church, dug a family out of a sewer line turned to grave. Bragg fought back, ghouls twisted by fresh radiation. Sandoval ran out of stim packs halfway through the first hour. They kept going, and then, somehow, they found her. The team had no plan beyond survival. Radio static screamed across their comms. Every building they passed collapsed a little more. Yet, Cole pressed on. He knew the terrain, but even he was disoriented by the surreal devastation. They found a map smeared with blood, nailed to a gas station wall. An arrow pointed east, Ranger Post Echo, a long dot. But that's where they went. Chapter 2. The Girl in the Walled Suit. She sat in a broken corner booth of what had been a diner, legs crushed beneath fallen masonry, ash clinging to her skin like a second coat. Her eyes weren't crying. They were watching. Alive, a child left in hell. Corporal Kells cleared the rubble while Bragg lifted her free. Her name, Nena. Just Nena. Her Vault 15 jumpsuit was torn and scorched, but she still clutched a Pip-Boy screen, cracked but glowing. "You're safe now," Sandoval whispered, though no one believed it. Cole didn't speak. He just nodded as if committing her face to memory. Nina's rescue wasn't a victory. It was a choice. The moment where survival stopped being about escape and started being about responsibility. Kells gave Nina a sip of water from her own canteen and held her hand. Nina never looked away. In her gaze was a quiet defiance, more powerful than any rallying cry. They wrapped her in a thermal blanket and kept moving. In a world reduced to ruin, a single child had become the future, and the squad knew it. Chapter 3. Last Light over Capitol Hill. The extraction point was chaos. Half the evac craft had already been shot down. Capitol Hill was collapsing, literally. The golden statue of President Tandy tilted, bent, and fell as if bowing to the apocalypse. Cole's squad covered a final group of civilians as Bragg carried Nina toward the ramp. Ghouls, dozens, poured out of ruined metro tunnels. The radiation had twisted them quickly. Corporal Kells fired until her magazine ran dry. Then she drew her sidearm. "Get them out, Dustwalker." She didn't wait for an answer. Her grenade lit up the night. The vertibird lifted, engines screaming. Cole never saw her fall, but he never stopped hearing the blast. Bragg didn't speak the entire flight. Sandoval tried to stabilize a burn victim with no skin left to stitch. Cole sat beside Nina, who stared out the door at the burning Capitol. Was that my home? She asked. Cole nodded. Yeah, but not you. You're still here. The vertibird took them away from death, but not from grief. Chapter 4. Embers in Dayglow. Dayglow was no one's first choice. It was radioactive, rough, and haunted by the ghosts of old wars. But it was safe, for now. The survivors gathered, displaced families, disillusioned rangers, scraps of the NCR's first battalions. Cole kept to himself. Bragg taught the younger kids how to reinforce walls. Sandoval treated everything from burns to broken psyches. Nina surprisingly smiled the most. She followed Cole around, notebook in hand, asking questions, recording names. She remembered everyone, especially the dead. When the council offered to relocate them to Boneyard, Cole refused. We're not going back to be ruled. We're going forward to rebuild. Around the campfires, old maps were unrolled. Veterans marked out where farms used to be, where clean water might still flow. They weren't talking about survival anymore. They were talking about returning, about starting over. Bragg stood before a group of teens, holding up a broken rifle. This used to take lives. Now it'll guard crops. That's change. The survivors weren't just alive, they were awake. Chapter 5. The Phoenix Rises. They traveled east, away from politics, away from broken promises. And in the shadow of the Salton crater, they found a place. Fertile ground, high land, defensible. Survivors became settlers. Soldiers became citizens. The first stone was placed by Nina. It should be a school, she said. And so it was. The Phoenix Council formed, small, cautious, but committed. A flag was sewn from salvaged cloth, black, gold, and crimson. A phoenix rising from the broken, two-headed bear. Cole stood at the edge of it all, a dog tag in his hand. The Republic was dead, but its spirit wasn't. From the ashes of Shady Sands, something new took flight. When traders passed through New Ashford, they spoke of it like legend. They don't have a president, one said. They've got people, and they listened to them. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. It was earned. And in the silence that followed war, the sound of hammers, harvesters, and laughter echoed louder than gunfire.